From childhood, we are taught an unspoken rule. To belong, we must conform. We adjust our speech, our choices, even our dreams, molding ourselves to fit expectations that are not our own. With every compromise, we drift further from who we truly are, driven not by self-discovery, but by fear of judgment and the need for validation. But what if everything we've been taught about control is the very thing holding us back? What if the relentless pursuit of approval, the careful orchestration of our lives, is not a path to confidence and success, but a cage? Michel de Montaigne, a 16th century philosopher, saw through this illusion. In a world fractured by war and instability, he retreated, not in escape, but in search of wisdom. His writings were not prescriptions, but invitations, guiding us toward a life of clarity, authenticity, and quiet strength. He understood that freedom does not come from mastering life, but from releasing our grip on it. In this video, we will follow Montaigne's insights to uncover a radical truth. The less we cling to control, the more life aligns effortlessly. We will explore how letting go of the need for approval and certainty is not an act of passivity, but a gateway to true confidence, freedom, and inner peace. Section 1. The illusion of control. You have been conditioned to believe that control equals security. Society has instilled in you the notion that by carefully managing every variable, your actions, your words, even your emotions, you can prevent failure, avoid judgment, and shield yourself from the unknown. This belief is comforting because it suggests predictability in a chaotic world. Yet those who cling to control the most often find themselves trapped in anxiety, paralyzed by the endless pursuit of certainty. They live not with confidence, but with the constant fear that one misstep could unravel everything. Montaigne saw through this illusion, not through abstract philosophy, but through direct experience. One moment, he was on horseback, confident and in control. The next, he was thrown violently to the ground, teetering on the edge of death. That accident was more than a brush with mortality. It was a revelation. He realized that no amount of preparation could have prevented it. Life, he concluded, is not something to be controlled, but something to be navigated with awareness and adaptability. Those who grasp too tightly suffer the most when the inevitable happens. Those who embrace uncertainty, however, move through life with a lightness that others envy. They fear the future because they construct it in their minds as a sequence of worst-case scenarios. They dwell on the past, replaying failures as if revisiting them. Enough times will rewrite history. But Montaigne understood that the greatest suffering does not come from what actually happens. It comes from the stories people tell themselves about what might happen. They drain their energy, not from action, but from imagined catastrophes. In reality, most of what they fear never comes to pass. And when misfortune does arrive, it is often less catastrophic than the mind had predicted. You can spend a lifetime worrying, only to find that life rarely follows the script of your fears. Letting go of control does not mean surrendering to chaos. It does not mean carelessness or recklessness. Instead, it means understanding that control was never truly yours to begin with. The river does not fight against the current. It moves with it. The tree does not resist the wind. It bends and survives. Likewise, those who accept life's unpredictability are not weak. They are resilient. They do not shatter when plans go awry. Instead, they adjust, they pivot, they endure. Montaigne saw this as true wisdom, the ability to flow with life rather than fight against it. You do not need absolute control to find security. Real security comes from trust, not in outcomes, but in your ability to adapt. Montaigne's wisdom is not about passivity. It is about learning to walk with uncertainty instead of fearing it. The less you grasp, the more open your hands become to receive what life offers. And in that space, between letting go and moving forward, you will find the freedom that control could never give you. Section 2. The trap of seeking validation. From the moment you were a child, approval functioned as a kind of currency. A well-behaved child was rewarded with praise. A disruptive one was corrected or ignored. Over time, this conditioned you to seek validation, to measure your worth based on how others perceived you. Their smiles, their applause, their acceptance. It all felt like proof that you were on the right path. But this dependence on approval is a double-edged sword. What begins as a simple desire for recognition soon becomes a compulsion. You find yourself bending, adjusting, and reshaping who you are, not for your own sake, but to fit into the mold others expect of you. And the more you chase approval, the more elusive your true self becomes. They believe validation is the gateway to success and belonging. They think that if they say the right things, behave in the right way, and meet the right expectations, they will find fulfillment. But Montaigne saw this as a trap, a slow erosion of authenticity in exchange for fleeting acceptance. He understood that seeking approval was not just about winning favor, it was about survival. In a world that punishes difference, people learn to suppress parts of themselves to avoid rejection. Yet in doing so, they do not avoid suffering, they create it. The moment they prioritize external validation over internal truth, they lose their own voice. They exist not as themselves, but as reflections of others' desires. You have been told that confidence comes from being admired, from standing in the spotlight and hearing the world applaud. But Montaigne rejected this illusion. He did not write to persuade or to impress. He wrote to understand. His essays were an exploration of the self, a place where he could think freely without fear of judgment. This is what made his work timeless. He was not performing for an audience. He was searching for truth. He knew that the pursuit of approval is endless, because no amount of external praise can fill an internal void. Real confidence does not come from applause. It comes from knowing that, even in silence, you are enough. Section 3. The power of letting go. You have been told that to succeed, you must control every detail, anticipate every possibility, and never loosen your grip. But Montaigne saw things differently. He understood that true power does not come from force, but from flow. Detachment is not coldness, it is wisdom. It is knowing what is within your control and what is not, directing your energy toward what matters, rather than exhausting yourself on what never could. The tighter you cling, the more life resists. But when you let go, you create space for clarity, for opportunity, for unexpected joys that cannot be planned. They chase after security, relationships, and recognition, believing that only through control can they safeguard what they hold dear. Yet the harder they grasp, the more elusive their desires become. Montaigne's life was not without turmoil, but he learned to engage with the world without being ruled by it. He loved, but he did not possess. He pursued knowledge, but he did not agonize over knowing everything. He saw that people often ruin what they cherish most by trying to control it. The friend who clings too tightly smothers the bond. The leader who micromanages weakens their authority. The artist who obsesses over perfection never finishes their work. You have felt it before. That moment when you stop forcing things and suddenly everything falls into place.